What's good, YouTube? This your boy HoodFacts TV, and I'm back with another reaction video. Y'all know my motto, I'm not about to hold y'all up. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell for yourself so you can get notified when I drop more bangers like this one. Get in the comments, talk to your boy, I talk back. Do me another big favor, like and share this video. So, man, I was streaming this video yesterday, the story of Lil Durk, Lamron, OTF, and I didn't have my mic on like a dummy. So, like I said before, man, I was going to do part 2 today. We got another hour and 16 minutes to go to watch this movie. Watch this documentary. So I'm back. Like I said, I'm back. I hope you guys can hear me. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm not going to talk your ear off. I got my laughing gas with me. I'm going to blow a little bit of laughing gas while I watch this right here. I done ate. Got my water. So yeah, we about to go ahead and watch this movie. We about to go ahead and watch this documentary, part 2 of this documentary. Join the game, man. Let's go.
The same grammar school as Lil Durk. Durk's early involvement in crime began during elementary school, starting with the typical petty activities that many young kids engage in, such as stealing bikes, phones and whatnot, which he did together with his friends, brother and cousins. Although Lil Durk started claiming Lamron early on, as he spent much of his time there with friends, he also used to claim Dipset, which was a common trend back in the day. Front Street BDs referred to themselves as Dipset, as did the BDs around 72nd, Dog Pound, and 69th, Sean Money. In fact, many BD sets across the South Side adopted the name. Durk even referenced this in his song Hellcats and Trackhawks, rapping, "I remember claiming Dipset." Fredo Santana from Front Street, one of the first sets to claim Dipset before, took Santana from Jules Santana, a member of the East Coast hip-hop group The Diplomats, also known as Dipset. Young World on 64th and Wildcott also went by the name Dipset. On 40th and Langley, the name Dipset was popular in the early 2000s. Additionally, Dipset 650 operated in the original Black P Stone territory at 65th and Blackstone. Another Dipset on 71st and Normal was linked to the murder of I-Chief from Brick Squad in July 2011. Essentially, Dipsets were spread across various parts of the city during that era.
One thing about the Chicago gangs, man, they definitely take a rap label and make it a gang. But you got Dipset, you got Brick Squad, you got Young Money. Like, they'll take a rap label and make it a gang quick as hell. Don't forget about No Limit. You got No Limit.
In the late 2000s, Lil Durk spent most of his time on 59th Street, now called Tay-Town. Back then, it was known as D-Town, short for David Town, named after David Barksdale, also known as King David, who once lived on that block. Lil Durk spent a lot of time in D-Town with Taysky, Dida, and Day Day, 3 of his closest friends at the time. They often hung out outside local stores, such as the ones at 59th and Princeton or 59th and Normal. Similar to Dog Pound, Lil Durk never explicitly claimed D-Town but has given them shoutouts in multiple songs. At one point, there was an alliance known as DTLR 600/300, which stood for David Town Lamron 600/300. To be fair, it was more of a movement than a formal alliance. Yes, they committed crimes together, but not under a unified front. It's important to understand that many well-known BD blocks were closely connected back in the day. Groups like O Block, Timb, Lamron, Tay-Town, the HBE Alliance, 600, Front Street, THF 46, and even Black P Stone sets from Motown and Terrortown, such as the Folly Boys movement and No Limit Muskegon Boys. Many individuals were affiliated with multiple sets. For instance, Capo claimed Front Street, Lamron, and NLMB. D-Rose was linked to Folly Boys, 600, and THF. King Von and M Thang were tied to both 600 and O Block. and Gleesh represented O Block and AMG/Mac Block. Lil Durk maintained close relationships with members across these groups and continues to do so. For example, in the past year, he has been promoting Coquilla's music from Folly Boys. Back then, they were a powerful, unified movement. However, much of that unity has since unraveled. Today, the connections between these groups are mostly loose. Some have even become rivals, like Temp, and many relationships are now marred by internal disputes over money and personal matters on social media. We will get to all of this in greater detail later in the story.
HoodFacts, this is Charlie 12 at Times Square. You're not going to believe this, but there's a bull walking down 7th Avenue right now. Wait, there's...
Lil Durk first got involved in street activities around 2006 or 2007, moving into more serious crimes like breaking into homes, stealing, and robbing people. During this time, he began heavily claiming Lamron. In 2008, at the age of 16, Lil Durk faced one of his first significant losses. On December 29, 2008, his close friend Lil Harvey, whose real name was Mahari Smith, tragically died after accidentally shooting himself. The incident occurred when Harvey, 18 years old, was handling a gun with another person. The weapon discharged, striking him in the chest, according to Chicago police. No charges were filed against Harvey's companion, as it appeared the two were playing with the gun when it went off. It remains unclear who owned the firearm. Lil Harvey was a member from 6th Ward but also claimed Lamron. Lil Durk mentioned Lil Harvey in the song, Guns and Money, which he released in early March 2011 together with King Skrilla. Lil Durk was deeply saddened by his death and was pushed deeper into Lamron and the street life. That was all he knew. Before we move on to Lil Durk, in order for you to understand the story, you must also understand the history of Lamron, its members, allies, enemies, and everything else that is relevant. Now we begin a new chapter in the long and complex story of Lil Durk. As I mentioned before, to truly understand his journey, you need to know and grasp the story of Lamron. Let's start with the basics. Lamron is a black disciple set based around 64th and Normal, however they also hang on Parnell a lot. Lamron hang...
Oh, that's why FBG Duck used to always say, shoot up Normal, we ain't normal. Oh, I get it now. See, some of the things I didn't know what they was talking about in their music, but now I get it.
Enemies, and everything else that is relevant. Now we begin a new chapter in the long and complex story of Lil Durk. As I mentioned before, to truly understand his journey, you need to know and grasp the story of Lamron. Let's start with the basics. Lamron is a black disciple set based around 64th and Normal, however they also hang on Parnell a lot. Lamron hangs out anywhere between 59th and 65th. As many know, the name Lamron is simply normal spelled backward. Like Lil Reese rapped on Get Back Mood Part 2, on some Lamron shit, on some normal backwards shit. According to Lil Reese, the name originated around 2005 or 2006 when they were hanging out on the block, high on weed. One of the guys looked at the street sign, read it backward, and thought it sounded cool. And just like that, the name was born. Sometimes, it's really that simple. It's a fitting name since what they are doing is backwards and beyond normal.
That's crazy. When you think about it, it's definitely backwards and everything they doing is unnormal. Wow. Fuck, that's crazy. Like, that shit was just meant to be.
Two of the most significant figures in this story, and for the Black Disciples, were the late Big Law from SMB and his son, Lil Law from Lamron, who remains an influential presence today. Big Law, born Lawrence Loggins in 1972, was a prominent figure in the Chicago street gang scene, most notably as one of the leaders of the Black Disciples. Big Law was known for his control over both the drug trade and violent operations, solidifying his power through ruthless enforcement. Beyond his leadership within the BDs, he also headed SMB3, Self-Made Bosses, a BD set located in the Englewood neighborhood at 69th and Emerald. In 1997, Big Law, then a prominent figure in the Renegade Disciples, found himself facing serious charges. The case revolved around the murder of a Black Disciples member, allegedly part of an internal gang dispute. The person he killed was G. Free, a high-ranking BD who was the nephew of former BD leader King Shorty. Big Law was arrested in connection with the killing, a crime that would come to define his early criminal career. While specific details about the victim were often obscured due to the secretive nature of gang activities, it was clear that Big Law was involved in maintaining control and resolving conflicts within his own organization. The charges levied against Big Law were grave. He faced not just allegations of murder, but also the weight of gang-related violence, a common motif in Chicago's street gangs during the late 1990s. The situation was exacerbated by the fact that gang-related killings, particularly those within the same organization, were often the result of power struggles, loyalty tests, or punishment for perceived disrespect or disloyalty.
He was getting bread. He was getting money. He was getting that moolah.
Big Law was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison. During the trial, the prosecution focused on the nature of the crime, with evidence pointing to a calculated act of violence aimed at reinforcing his power within the Black Disciples. The specific circumstances of the murder were difficult to fully uncover, as much of the activity within gangs like the Black Disciples is conducted in secrecy, and many witnesses are reluctant to testify due to fear of retaliation. Despite his conviction, Big Law continued to maintain significant influence within the Black Disciples, even while incarcerated. His leadership role within the gang did not diminish during his time behind bars, as gang members maintained contact with him through various means. In fact, Big Law used his time in prison to solidify his position as one of the central figures in the Black Disciples, building connections and organizing the gang's activities from within. After serving about 20 years, Big Law was released and he went on to reclaim leadership in the Black Disciples, where he continued to exert control over significant drug trafficking operations and street violence across Chicago, especially in neighborhoods like Englewood and South Shore. However, his involvement in criminal activities and attempts to consolidate power were seen by some as attempts to restore the order he had lost during his time in prison. As I mentioned, Big Law was initially a renegade disciple, which is a faction that split from the main Black Disciples organization. The renegades were considered a subgroup of the Black Disciples that had different leadership and goals, often causing internal conflict within the larger BD network. However, Big Law eventually rose to become one of the leaders of the Black Disciples, despite his early involvement with the renegades. Big Law's rise to power is often attributed to a combination of street credibility, strategic alliances, and his ability to maintain strong influence within the gang world even while incarcerated. After being convicted for the murder of a fellow gang member in the 1990s, Big Law spent significant time in prison, where he continued to solidify his position as a major player in the gang. Even from behind bars, he managed to extend his reach and influence over gang operations, especially within Chicago's gang landscape. By the time he was released from prison, Big Law was able to consolidate control and ultimately become one of the leaders of the Black Disciples, including unifying various factions like the Renegades and others under the broader BD umbrella. This transition wasn't without conflict, as many within the gang were resistant to Big Law's leadership due to his renegade roots. However, his ability to provide for the gang's financial interests, primarily through the drug trade and street operations, helped him gain and maintain loyalty from key members. Big Law leadership was marked by his attempts to reassert control over the Black Disciples, particularly after the gang faced increasing fragmentation in the 2000s. Despite initial resistance from some factions, his influence grew, especially with younger gang members and those who were more focused on the financial aspect of gang operations. Big Law's efforts to solidify a more corporate-like structure within the BD organization were notable as well, as he sought to modernize and centralize the gang's operations. However, it should be said, while Big Law was a major figure in the Black Disciples, it's important to note that his leadership was part of a larger, more complex structure within the gang, which included multiple influential leaders. The Black Disciples were a large and fragmented organization with various sets controlling different areas of Chicago. Therefore, while Big Law was one of the central figures, especially in the later years, different leaders controlled different parts of the city. Big Law did not take over the Black Disciples after King Shorty in 2012, as many have claimed. While Big Law was a front figure within the Black Disciples, the leadership after Shorty's era became more decentralized. The gang transitioned into a structure where multiple leaders controlled different factions across Chicago. Not everyone honored Big Law, but enough for him to have a very high position. The FBI and police are also very quick with calling people bosses. For example, CPD called Chief Keef the leader of Lamron in 2013. What the media writes should also be taken with a pinch of salt. For example, in July 2020, the FBI arrested 23 individuals during a federal investigation targeting drug and gun trafficking in Chicago's Englewood neighborhood. Among those arrested was Darnell McMiller, also known as Murder from HBE, who the FBI claimed was the leader of the Black Disciples street gang. However, the FBI has faced criticism for frequently labeling individuals as gang leaders based on limited involvement, such as overseeing local drug operations rather than the entire gang. The arrests included multiple members from Dog Pound and HBE. One of the individuals apprehended was BJ, whom the FBI described as the leader of Dog Pound. Lil Durk actually mentioned BJ in the song, Guns and Money, which was released in December 2015, where he rapped, "Call up BJ from the pound, no bake but he gon' make them cakes." Additionally, law enforcement detained someone identified as a high-ranking member of the Gangster Disciples. While this individual did hold a notable position in the GDs at 7,200, his role was primarily that of a 44-year-old drug dealer managing parts of the group's operations rather than its broader leadership. Another significant arrest was Heat, who had been the right-hand man to Big Law until his death in early 2019. Heat allegedly took Big Law's position within the Black Disciples after his death. An interesting fact is that Heat is the father of Bobo from THF 46, who was killed in March 2017 shortly after being released from jail, having beaten a homicide charge. Bobos was allegedly killed by Kurt Mack from Snow Block, and KD Rosenducci from 051 Young Money. During the years-long federal investigation targeting gang activity in Chicago, law enforcement seized a significant cache of illegal drugs, firearms, and cash. This included 24 firearms, over 13 kilograms of cocaine, more than a kilogram of heroin, 1,350 grams of heroin mixed with fentanyl, 750 grams of fentanyl or fentanyl analogs, 378 grams of crack cocaine, $52,595 in suspected drug proceeds, and quantities of MDMA pills intended for distribution. Much of the alleged trafficking occurred in the Englewood neighborhood on Chicago's South Side. The operation targeted members of the Dog Pound and HBE, Halstead Boys Entertainment, sets, which include subsets like AMG, McBlock, MMG, Low Life, and SMB3. The individuals arrested were primarily in their early 40s. However, neither of the real leaders of the Black Disciples were arrested. One of the biggest leaders as of now, who already is in jail, is Marvel Thompson, often referred to as a king of the Black Disciples. He is also called the Magnificent. He was a prominent leader within the gang during the 1990s and early 2000s. He controlled the gang's Southside operations and played a significant role in orchestrating the Black Disciples' drug distribution network. Marvel's leadership extended to overseeing more than 15 drug-selling locations, managing street-level dealers, and implementing strict disciplinary measures to maintain order within the gang. Marvel's tenure ended in 2004 when he was arrested and later sentenced to 45 years in federal prison following a conviction for his role in a drug conspiracy. Evidence presented in court showed that Marvel used his influence to coordinate large-scale cocaine distribution, laundered money through real estate holdings, and accumulated significant wealth, including cash seizures of over $300,000. His arrest marked a significant blow to the Black Disciples hierarchy, as federal authorities targeted key figures in the gang's leadership. Back to Big Law. On February 6th,
February 6th, that's my birthday. That's crazy. My birthday, I knew I had to watch this video for something.
2019, Big Law was murdered while sitting in a Nissan.
Oh, that's sad. He was murdered on my birthday. Wow. Dang, that's messed up, man.
Rogue in front of his home in the 7100 block of South Union Avenue together with his right-hand man Kenneth Heat Brown. The territory belongs to 7 Trey, a gangster disciple set located adjacent to the Dog Pound territory. 1 or 2 shooters ran up to the vehicle and shot Big Law multiple times. Heat was scratched by a bullet and survived. After Big Law's death, people first believed that Brick Squad members P. Rico, Lil Don, and Yo-Yo were responsible for the killing. However, this turned out to be false. A court filing in 2020 from the FBI suggested a different story. According to the report, Big Law was likely killed in 2019 by the Mexican Gulf Cartel while he was sitting in his car. The FBI learned this from a Black Disciples member who was cooperating with them after a 2018 drug and gun arrest. The informant said that Kenneth Heat
That sound like some cartel. That sound like some cartel shit, like for real. Because why would P Rico and them do it? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's a different whole different generation. But they could have got paid to be have been a paid hit or something like that.
Pete Brown, Big Law's second in command and eventual successor, talked about the killing. Heat, who was in the car during the shooting, claimed it happened because part of a shipment of drugs and guns from the cartel had gone missing. The cartel blamed Big Law and demanded nearly $500,000 to cover the loss. The situation became even worse for Heat when police found 13 kilograms of cocaine in a storage unit connected to him. This put him under pressure from both law enforcement and possibly the cartel. It shows how dangerous it can be when things go wrong in such high.
Oh, so they probably did. Them boys tried to rob the cartel. Is they crazy? Oh man, them boys they messed up. They tried to rob the cartel. That's what happened.
High-stakes criminal networks, especially with the cartel. Now we move on from Big Law to his son, Lil Law, who created Lamron in 2007. Prior to the name Lamron, the set was known as 64th and Normal, which was started in the late 1980s by Robert Allen, also known as Prince Oldtimer Beto. Prince Oldtimer was one of the original members involved in the early formation of the Black Disciples, helping to shape the gang's structure. As one of the originals, Prince Oldtimer played a key role in solidifying the gang's presence and establishing the codes and practices that would define the Black Disciples for years to come. Lil Law, Big Law's son and the creator of the new Lamron, is also Prince Oldtimer Beto's great-nephew through his mother's side of the family. Although Lil Law is often viewed as the leader of Lamron, that isn't entirely accurate. While members respect and look up to him, the gang doesn't have one central leader. Instead, a group of influential members, like Lil Law, Lil Durk, Lil Reese, Lil Varney, Chief Wook, Twin, and others, hold significant sway, but there is no singular figure who controls the gang. The idea of one dictator running the gang is a misconception. Prince Oldtimer Beto is now deceased, and much of his family has passed away as well. Lil Rob from Lamron, whose real name was Robert Allen Jr., was killed on June 13, 2013, allegedly by members from 051 Young Money. Rob was only 19 years of age and was one of the original members of the new Lamron. He was close with Durk, Lil Mo, Nusky, Frito, Ball Out, and others. Lil Rob was the grandson of Prince Oldtimer, which is why he was also known by the nickname Beto. After his death, Lamron adopted the name Beto Gang in his honor. Lil Durk, who was very close to Lil Rob, referred to him as his shooter back when he was alive. Lil Rob was a highly respected and loved member. Many of the members strongly claim Beto Gang in his honor. Lil Rob was frequently mocked by rival factions, with various diss tracks targeting him. In Andrilla's song 51 Dead Ops, he raps about Lil Rob's death, saying, "Lil Rob got hit on the 4, left him on normal leaking on the floor." Similarly, Lil Mark made reference to him in his popular track No Competition. Other artists, including J Mane from Jaro City and King Lil J from STL, Fifth Ward, have also mocked Lil Rob in songs. Another interesting fact is that Lil Rob's father, also named Robert Allen Jr., was a police informant. He admitted that he was responsible for selling 220 pounds of crack in the area of 64th, Normal between September 1996 and August 1998, and agreed to testify against other members, from a life sentence to 20 years, in May 1999. Robert Allen Jr. and another high-ranking BD, Charles Jackson, had helped authorities identify voices in tapped cell phone calls, which led to the next raid in December 1999.
These boys, man. Don't get in the game if you gon' snitch and start working with the police, bro. That's crazy. You getting all this money, you doing all this crazy stuff, and then when you get locked up, you won't snitch. Like, these boys ain't gonna get you if you come home. Like, you can't even go back to what you was doing because now you done snitched on everybody in the hood. So now you about to go live like a mouse somewhere. Tuck your tail.
Back to Lil Law. Not too long after he created Lamron, he got locked up. On May 29, 2009, he was arrested and charged for attempted murder, and after spending 2 years in Cook County, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Lil Durk has mentioned Lil Law in several songs. In the song, Started From, a song released with the 7220 Deluxe album in March 2022, he even stated that he tried to take Lil Law's case for him. He rapped, "I was 17, I was trying to take Lil Law's case for him. Daddy was doing life, I couldn't sit outside and wait for him." In the song, 2-5, he also rapped about how he took care of Lil Law's kids. He rapped, "Lil Law daughter, Lil Charles son, I love them kids, and I gave them what they wanted when no one did." Obviously, Lil Durk and other Lamron members looked up to Lil Law heavily. Lil Law, who also claims MTV 079, has cases dating back to 2007. He had been active for a long time before he got arrested for the attempted murder. In late February 2022, Lil Law was released back into the free world after serving 13 of the 15 years he got. MTV 079 and Lamron have multiple members who claim both sets. In an interview, Lil Charles from Lamron, MTV 079 explained that they made 79th really hot, meaning the police presence increased due to them committing crimes, so they instead started hanging out on Lamron with the people they were close with. Lil Charles, Lil Law, OTF Jam and Trey Savage are members who claim both MTV 079 and Lamron. Even Lil Oz from MTV was close with Lamron. However, the relationship between the gangs shattered in the summer of 2014 when Lil Durk was allegedly robbed by MTV, which was revealed by Capo from Lamron, NLMB, Front Street on Twitter. This was during the time when GBE and OTF were beefing, which we will come to later. In the tweet, Capo wrote, "I know a rapper from around the way that got his gun taken by brain-dead MTV dudes. He's y'all favorite rapper from Coke Boys. Laugh out loud, he knows who." The reason for this is probably due to the fact that Brain Dead and Cuckoo Gang had tight relations with Capo from Larman, NLMB, Front Street. Members like Benji Glow and Red Chapo from Lamron, Brain Dead, MTV, who also was close with Chief Keef and the rest of GBE, were close friends with Capo and therefore took GBE's side in the beef with Lil Durk and OTF. They also claimed Ku Glow. However, Boona from Lamron, Brain Dead took Lil Durk's side in the beef, which is probably a factor to why Durk loves him. However, this touches on the broader conflict between OTF and GBE, and now I feel that I am jumping too far ahead in the story. This will be explained in detail later on in the video. Two other font figures, and original members of Lamron, are Lil Varney, also known as the Muscle, and Chief Wook, also known as Wakaduk. Varney and Chief Wook, who were brothers.
All right, so now we getting into the part where I'm getting to know who is who, because I definitely be hearing him shout out a lot of names, you know what I'm saying? So now we get into the part where I know exactly what he's talking about, you know what I'm saying? You see my computer keep telling me I gotta update it, man, so hopefully just go by a little bit faster, man, and I can update it.
Two other font figures, and original members of Lamron, are Lil Varney, also known as the Muscle, and Chief Wook, also known as Wakaduk. Varney and Chief Wook, who were brothers, are the sons of Varney Voker, one of the so-called Bentley twins. His twin brother's name is Varma. Varney and Varma grew up in the 16-story Calumet building, also called Randolph Tower or the Castle, which was demolished in the mid-2000s. They were raised in public housing and became involved with the Black Disciples at a young age. The twins quickly rose in prominence within the gang and gained the nickname Bentley Twins due to their love for luxury cars, specifically Bentleys. They were also known as the BD Twins because of their strong affiliation with the Black Disciples. The twins was a part of the BD drug empire under Marvel Thompson. They were real hustlers. If it was a way to make money from something, they did it. For example, the twins allegedly used some of their drug profits to buy a nightclub in Atlanta. The Voker twins renamed it Club 2 Wins and made payments of $20,000 every 3 weeks in cash until they had paid about $180,000. Back in the 80s, 90s and early 2000s, the Black Disciples ran a business that was the envy of Chicago's underground economy. The Southside Gang's distribution network for heroin and crack cocaine brought in as much as $300 a day. Its drug-selling territory was divided into clearly defined franchises. Gang members paid dues and taxes for the right to sell drugs. There was even an annual company picnic. The Calumet Building, also known as the Randolph Towers or the Castle, which we talked about earlier, was a prominent high-rise in Chicago, part of the South Side public housing complexes and one of the headquarters for the BDs. However, it was distinct from the Robert Taylor homes, which served as the primary headquarters of the BDs for much of their history. The Calumet Building was a 16-story public housing high-rise in the same general area, and it was also a hub for Black Disciples and other affiliated gang members. Like the Robert Taylor homes, the Calumet Building was demolished in the early to mid-2000s as part of Chicago's efforts to dismantle public housing and reduce concentrated poverty. So, while the Calumet Building was significant to the gang's operations, the Robert Taylor homes are more often referred to as the BD's main headquarters. Many of the famous members we know today grew up in these homes, which we will come to later. I've always thought they ran things the way IBM should have, said Jonathan King, a former U.S. attorney who prosecuted the Gangster Disciples, rivals of the Black Disciples. He explained that the Gangster Disciples were skilled at assigning the right people to the right roles and finding legal businesses to hide their drug money. They were very organized and efficient. Many of these people could have been successful business leaders if they had chosen legal work instead of running a drug cartel. Both the Gangster Disciples and the Black Disciples were structured like a pyramid, with a CEO-style leader at the top. Each gang had a board of directors that held meetings. They also had middle managers to oversee drug sales and enforcers to punish members and collect fines. Punishments, or violations, were often physical and much harsher than any punishment in the corporate world. While leaders made a lot of money, The lower-level members selling drugs on the streets earned about the same as minimum wage, according to researchers. Andrew Papachristos, a sociologist, said most black disciples are like the fry cooks at McDonald's. Only about 40 to 50.
Wow, that's crazy, but when you think about it, it's true. When you think about it, it's true. They basically just workers. I mean, if they give you a pack of 300 and you got to bring 250 back to them, and all you pocket is $50, then yeah, it's like, bro, you crazy?
50 members held leadership positions and made significant money. They're not all driving fancy cars. Most of them aren't making big money, he said. Both gangs had rules and offered some benefits. Arrested members could count on the gang to pay for lawyers and bail. The gangs also often paid for funerals and sometimes supported families of members who were killed or jailed. Like big businesses, there was also a glass ceiling. About 30% of black disciples in some parts of Chicago were women, but they rarely rose to leadership positions. The corporate gang structure started in the 1980s when manufacturing jobs disappeared from inner cities, and crack cocaine became widespread. Crack created a booming drug market that was much larger than the markets for marijuana or other drugs. Members also paid regular monthly dues of about $20, along with political dues of as much as $25 a month back in the mid-1990s, which added up to more than $15 million, a sizable chunk of the gang's estimated $100 million in annual revenue. The black disciples owned businesses as well. Donald G. Hahn, the gang's third-in-command, also played entrepreneur, forming D.B.T. Construction Incorporated. In 1999, the initials stood for Distinguished Black Tradesman. Likewise, black disciple leader Marvel Thompson, who held the title King, was interested in the construction business, incorporating Royal Improvement Limited. In 1993, Royal Improvement and D.B.T. Construction was involuntarily dissolved by the state in 2002. Thompson also owned a rap record label and a recording studio known as M.O.B. Records Incorporated. The studio in Englewood produced a hit song, The Cha-Cha Slide, which was performed by Chicago DJ Casper.
I remember the Cha-Cha Slide. The Cha-Cha Slide was definitely alright. I ain't gonna cap. Them boys was rocking Gucci way back then with curls. Gucci been around for a long time, man. Gucci been making money for a long time, boy. Them sweatsuits right there probably was $150, $200. You know what I'm saying? Because back then money wasn't, like it is now. Probably was more than that. Probably was like $500 for them damn sweatsuits.
The May 2004 federal raid targeting the black disciples was the culmination of years of careful investigation and strategic infiltration into the gang's operations. The raid dismantled the leadership of a drug empire that generated millions annually and was orchestrated with the precision of a corporate entity. Key meetings of the gang's board members took place at a construction company office on 69th and Halstead, a location that became a focal point of law enforcement surveillance. The raid resulted in the arrest of 42 individuals, including influential figures such as Marvel Thompson and the Voker twins, Varney and Varma, striking at the heart of the gang's hierarchy. The operation's success hinged on the testimonies of informants who had intimate knowledge of the gang's inner workings. Among them was a former board member who controlled a significant stretch of BD territory before flipping to assist law enforcement after being sentenced in 1997. Another informant, the estranged wife of Varney Voker, provided key information after receiving death threats from her husband, while others contributed detailed accounts of meetings, drug transactions, and violent enforcement tactics. One informant, who had defected from the traveling vice lords to the BDs and then back again, offered a particularly vivid story. After being shot 21 times by the BDs for asserting control over drug territory, he eventually reconciled with the gang and was formally blessed at Victor Herbert Park, a BD meeting location at 2100 W. Monroe. The May 2004 raid was a decisive moment in the battle against Chicago's organized gang activity, showcasing the effectiveness of insider testimony and collaborative law enforcement. Yet it also revealed the deep-rooted challenges of addressing systemic violence, as the void left by the Black Disciples' leadership only paved the way for new cycles of conflict and instability. Victor Herbert Park, once a symbol of gang unity and authority, stood as a reminder of a fleeting era of centralized power in Chicago's gangland, now fractured into smaller, more chaotic entities. The raid's immediate impact was the arrest and conviction of many top leaders, including Marvel Thompson, who initially received a 45-year sentence, later reduced in 2020. However, the raid also left a power vacuum, leading to smaller, disorganized factions vying for control. The violence that followed underscored the difficulty of eradicating entrenched criminal networks. Informants, often driven to cooperate by fear, survival instincts, or the hope for leniency, played a critical role in this takedown but faced enduring threats and social stigma as a result. The BD twins reportedly had their sentences significantly reduced, allegedly due to cooperation with authorities, similar to other defendants in the case. Following their legal troubles, they turned to religion, finding guidance and support through Pastor Corey Brooks, a well-known spiritual leader on Chicago's South Side. Today, they are said to focus on legitimate business ventures, owning shops, doing podcasts, working with Project HoodFacts, and pursuing lawful means of earning a living.
I mean, after they done snitched on everybody in the gang and sold damn near every drug in the goddamn city and damn near shot up every damn, I mean, after they done polluted the whole damn city and made so much damn money and drove so many damn cars and witnessed so many people get killed, of course, what else they gonna do? They snitched and now they gotta lay low. So of course they gonna act like they found God. I'm not gonna say they gonna act like they found God, but of course that's the only person that they gonna ride for now is God. But hey, to each his own.
Pastor Corey B. Brooks is a prominent leader and Republican, dedicated to combating violence and uplifting communities on Chicago's South Side.
At least I mean, they out there, like, I guess they don't care. I don't know, man. I don't know, man.
He serves as the founder and senior pastor of New Beginnings Church of Chicago and leads Project HoodFacts, helping others obtain destiny. Communities Development Corporation as its CEO. His educational background includes studies at Ball State University, the University of Florida, Dallas Theological Seminary, and Grace Theological Seminary, shaping his commitment to transformative community leadership. Pastor Corey Brooks became a notable religious leader on Chicago's South Side in late 2011. Following the funeral of Tutu, a member of Jarrow City who was tragically killed by C-Day and Rondo No. 9 from 600 in an alley located on STL/EBT territory on November 10, 2011. Tutu was a killer himself. He had killed Jizzle from Squirt Town, Brick City in September 2011, together with Lil B from STL/EBT. They killed him because Jizzle had killed Tutu's uncle, Dante, in 2005. Tutu's parents did not want to have the funeral at Pastor Corey's church because they were afraid of the violence that might occur, but Corey assured them that nothing would happen. However, tragically, something happened. On that day, 600 slid on Tutu's funeral and a shootout happened. Bite Down, Manny, Rondo No. 9, and Tutu's alleged killer, C-Day, all hopped out shooting. People ran in panic, but it was mostly innocent families in the crowd. The 600 members bailed out pretty quickly from the scene. It was over in just seconds. Since 600 released, it was mostly females running around in panic. Thankfully, no one got shot or killed.
That's crazy, man. Y'all just go to the funeral and shoot up the funeral. That's just crazy to me, man. Like, Mm-mm.
Following the shooting, the funeral was eventually able to proceed under heavy police presence, with officers surrounding the church to ensure safety. Reflecting on that day, Pastor Corey Brooks recounted an unforgettable moment. At the end of the funeral, I felt an undeniable nudge from God, compelling me to address the presence of illegal guns brought into the church by young men. I stood up and made an announcement. Listen, I want you to turn your guns in. We're going to do a gun turn in today. I said a prayer and made an appeal for those illegal guns to be surrendered. On that day, 4 guns were turned in, 2 of which were FBG Bud's 2 favorite guns, which he stated in an interview. Following the incident, Pastor Corey Brooks took a dramatic step to raise awareness about the pressing issues faced by Chicago's South Side. He began living on the rooftop of a building across the street from O Block, earning him the title of the Rooftop Pastor. This bold move symbolized his commitment to drawing attention to the violence, poverty, and systemic challenges affecting the community. In total, the pastor has spent over a year on the rooftop and received donations to create a community center designed to provide opportunities to his community.
I predict everyone will be using this Chrome extension by 2025. My name is Brandon Moore. I'm an engineer here at...
Back to the Calumet Buildings, or 6,217 buildings, which was one of the Black Disciples' headquarters, and where many famous BDs we know today grew up. Here is a list of individuals who grew up in the Calumet Buildings. Melly from 051 Young Money, whose stepfather Fido was a high-ranking kingpin BD. Lil Varney, Chief Wook, Ball Out, T, Slick and Lil Reese from Lamron, Blast His Ass, C-Day, and E-Day from 600, and Lil B from EBT, who was originally from Temb. J-Main, Skinny and Trevo from Jaro City also grew up there. Notably, Jaro City was once BD territory, known as Dark Side, after BDs from the Calumet Buildings took over the area. This changed when King Scan, a BD king before the building raids, made them give it back since he had friends in Dark Side. King Scan, currently serving a 25-year sentence set to end in 2025, is the father of Lil Scan from Maitre Mob, Evans Mob, one of the few BDs in that set, and another son in Jaro City. An interesting fact is that Chief Keef's father, Big F, is a BD from Dark Side, Jaro City. In the song The Talk, Keef references this, rapping, "My pop's from the other side, dude, F him too." To add even more to the list of people who grew up in the Calumet Buildings, Capo, Doo-Wop and Mineski from NLMB, Cortez, Courtney, Moneyman and Face from Temb, Ty from YMB, after whom Temb is named, Frito Santana and Blood Money from Front Street, Poo Poo from SMB, Chicken, So I see, wee wee from EBT, and bruh bruh from THF 46, O block.
That's what I was trying to tell people, man. Like before they took them buildings out, when Chicago had them big ass project skyscraper buildings, a lot of these dudes grew up with each other. A lot of these dudes was around each other for sure. Like they all know each other. It's not like they don't know each other. They was kids from the sandbox doing flips on dirty mattresses together. So that's how they know who each other is. Like that's how they can know who the person is that's behind that mask, or that's how they know who the person is that's walking, because they all know each other, like literally. And why he had to put the picture of Lil Reese when he got beat up by the police. These all the people that grew up in that same building. It's everybody that grew up in that same building. Most of them became enemies. Most of them still friends. The Whoop, man. That's why when J-Man said, yo, y'all, like, everybody know each other, he was telling the truth. Everybody be thinking J-Man be acting sometimes because he a comedian. But sometimes he really be speaking the truth, man.
Google Fi Wireless has flexible phone plans that keep your family safe and connected. There are plans for any budget.
It seemed like the older gang members wasn't really on that shit that these younger ones on, like Lil Durk and FBG Duck and King Von. Like they era was more about killing. The other era seemed like it was more about getting money.
There are many funny stories from the days when the Calumet buildings were still standing. The BDs, who are now known figures, were just kids back then, so conflicts were more about fighting than serious beef. For instance, Lil Reese from Lamron mentioned in an interview with DJ UTV that J-Mane from Jaro City often got beat up. J-Mane, in turn, shared in a video that their fathers used to fight. J-Mane also revealed in an interview that Lil Reese is his cousin and even attended his birthday party. The Calumet buildings played a pivotal role in fostering tight bonds among these BDs during that era, as they all grew up knowing one another. One of the less funny stories is that Fredo Santana from Front Street allegedly killed Joker from the 6217 building in the late 2000s. This was a killing which resulted in Fredo gaining a lot of respect since Joker held rank and was a big drug dealer. Fredo was also allegedly involved in the murder of Lonnie from Mob, in which he killed together with D-Slick from NLMB/Lamron/Front Street. We will dive deeper into this later in the story. Back to Lamron. Lamron is a set with a lot of shooters, killers and drug dealers, yet, its members tend to maintain a lower profile compared to members from other sets. One of their top killers is OJ from Lamron, a very controversial figure whose name has figured in many investigations as a snitch. Is also known for being one of the killers of Fathead from 051 Young Money in June 2012. After Shaq from 600 had been killed in early February 2012, allegedly by Kiddo and Mally from 051 Young Money, 600 was looking for revenge. One June 22nd, one of Chicago's most infamous hits would go down when 600 together with Lamron slid on 051 Young Money. I'm talking about the murder of Fathead. Antonio Davis aka Fathead, of the 8000 block of South Eberhard Avenue, was visiting his aunt's home at 70th and Union, which is territory belonging to SMB, who are neighbors to Brick Squad and Low Life. Antonio was walking together with his 22-year-old cousin Erica and decided to walk to the store. They did not think anything of the light-colored van that slowed as it passed them on Union, despite the hard-eyed stares from the people in the car. But Erica recognized a man in a dark hooded sweatshirt as the van's passenger when they encountered him on 69th Street. The one she recognized was S. Todd from 600, who was allegedly driving the car. The side door on the van opened. OJ from Lamron and C-Day from 600 started shooting, which caused Fathead to fall to the ground while Erica ran away in a panic. C-Day, or OJ, then jumped out of the van and walked calmly to the lying Antonio, stood over him, and shot him multiple times in the head. Antonio, who was only 14 years old, was tragically found dead on the scene by police and paramedics.
Hey, he was a little. Oh my god, bro. Why y'all? Oh my god. Why did they jump into this gang shit so early? Like, look at him, yo. I'm pretty sure he didn't make it out his teens. Early teens. Wow. I don't give a fuck about going to hell. I'm bored. I'm finna kill somebody. These is all tweets from the Android. That's crazy. These boys is savages for real. one thing I can say, they definitely live by their name, man, for sure. When you kill somebody, that shit feel like sex. Wow.
In the documentation related to the murder of Fathead, OJ from Lamron reportedly told the CPD that C-Day was responsible for Fathead's death. Despite this, OJ has repeatedly tried to deny this claim on Instagram, but his efforts have been met with ridicule both online and from other Lamron members. Chubbs from Lamron has also criticized OJ for being disloyal and hinted at OJ stealing money from him. However, back in the days, OJ was very respected and was close with Lil Durk, Lil Reese, Chief Keef, Get Back Gang and obviously, 600. Interestingly, OJ still associates with prominent members from sets such as Welch World, DHF 46, and some individuals from Lamron. While many have distanced themselves from him, not as extensively as they did with Tay 600, it is evident that not everyone has turned their back on him. He still has a circle of people he connects with. Gangs often pick and choose who to disown, even when there is evidence suggesting a member has cooperated with authorities. There is no consistent pattern or universal standard for handling such situations. OJ has also been rumored to be involved in the murder of King Doc from STL/EBT, however this is unconfirmed information. This murder has also been pinned on King Von and T-Roy. Beans from Mob said it was Wick City. However, the police report stated it was 600 and Lamron, but that assessment was based on social media. But it's possible since OJ slid a lot with 600 during this period. Lil Durk mentioned OJ in the song 2.5, which was released in 2017, before the snitch allegations, where he rapped, "Chubbs and OJ leave you slumped if you play with me." Another Lamron member who has faced snitching allegations is Jesse Law, also known as JL.
Damn, there's a lot of people be snitching in Lamron I see, so it's no wonder why Lil Durk gets locked up, because half his goddamn crews is snitches. Let me stop playing, but damn, it is a lot of rats in Lamron. Come on, man.
Some believe he testified in court about the murder of his friend, Deontay Billups, another member of Lamron. Billups was killed on November 4, 2012, at a residence in the 1200 block of Allen Avenue in Muskegon, a city roughly 3 hours from Chicago. Billups was found just outside the house, with his head on the grass and his feet on the stoop. Testimony revealed he had suffered 5 gunshot wounds, 1 to the back of his head, 2 to his face, and 2 to his back. Earlier that evening, Jesse Law, Billups, and 1 other Lamron member had beaten up a guy named Ash Shakur Buchanan from Muskegon, which ended with Ash Shakur getting a shattered tooth. However, Jesse Law testified that another Chicago companion, not Billups or himself, fought alone with Ash Shakur Buchanan and testified that his cousin, Demario Buchanan, broke the fight up. Jesse said he thought things were smoothed over afterwards between the Muskegon man and the Chicago men. Later, Jesse testified that the 2 cousins, along with 1 other man, named Quazala Porkia, walked into the front door of the Allen Avenue house about 10 to 15 minutes after the 3 Chicago men had arrived there. He said Billups was sitting on a couch near the front door, with Demario standing in front of Billups and a few feet to his right, facing him. Ash Shakur was pacing around mumbling something, Jesse said. Quazala was sitting elsewhere in the room. Jesse then said he went into the kitchen to get a pop from the freezer. Several seconds later, he testified, he heard gunshots and fled out the back door, escaping into an alley. Jesse said the Chicago man had been in Muskegon to participate in the shooting of a video by a Muskegon rapper he thought was named Slime Money. Under cross-examination by defense attorney Terry J. Nolan, Jesse denied that any of the Chicago men were gang-affiliated, although they probably were labeled as gang members, he said of Billups and the 3rd Chicago man. DeMario, the alleged shooter, and Quazala were charged in 2014 and got their sentence in 2017 after much deliberation. DeMario was sentenced to 18 to 35 years in prison for the second-degree murder, and in addition to the murder sentence, the court sentenced DeMario to a consecutive, or additional 2-year prison sentence for using a firearm to commit a felony, as well as 2 concurrent sentences, 5 to 15 years in prison for lying to the police and 3 to 15 years for possession of a firearm by a felon. Quazala was sentenced to at least 7 years in prison for multiple charges under the theory that he aided and abetted DeMario, despite not being the one who shot Billups. Ash Shakur Buchanan, initially suspected of the murder due to being the individual who was beaten up, was later cleared of all suspicion. Jesse Law, who was also arrested early in the investigation, was subsequently released. When DeMario spoke on his sentence, he admitted to bad decisions and an addiction to drugs and alcohol, but denied any responsibility for the killing of Billups, whom he described as a friend of his at the time of the shooting. "I'm a convicted felon, but I'm a man of God, and I feel responsible for whatever sentence is imposed on me today. God has the last say-so on my life," DeMario said. "I can't sit here and accept responsibility for this crime, but I will accept responsibility for putting myself in a situation where I can be perceived as the guilty person," DeMario said. "To the Billups family, you have my deepest condolences. I'm just standing on my innocence, and I hope that one day they can find it in their hearts to forgive me. I wonder if the cousins are cousins with Mako from Met Boys, who is locked up for the murder of L.A. Capone from 600. At least, they share the same surname." Opinions are divided on Jesse's statements in court. While he described the sequence of events, he refused to testify against the defendants. This has led to ongoing debate about whether he snitched or not. Lil Durk's cousin, Rico, spoke on Jesse Law and OJ in March 2023, when he uploaded a story on Instagram where he wrote, "Jesse Lawrence aka JL is a rat and we do not F with him at all," and "Lamron OJ, can you take 300 off your name? I've been following the drill scene since 2012, and I remember when Jesse Law's situation went viral, with people across Twitter labeling him a snitch. In my opinion, though it may not matter, I don't believe he snitched. He was forced to testify under threat of jail time, and when he took the stand, he said he didn't see anything. However, some argue that just agreeing to take the stand is enough to be labeled a snitch, since they believe there's always a choice not to cooperate and take jail time instead. Incidents like these, and the fact that Lamron still hangs out with alleged snitches, is why Lil Durk, Varney, Twin, Wook have recently distanced themselves from Lamron and instead started hanging out more with Tay-Town with Dada. We will talk more about this later in the story. Billups, as we talked about, was a very beloved member and was close with Lil Durk and Lil Reese. He was only 20 years old when he was shot and killed. Immediately after the murder, Jesse Law from Lamron tweeted, "This is crazy, R.I.P. Billups." In order for you to understand more about Lamron and its history, you also need to know its members. You've already gotten to know some of them and we just went into more detail about OJ and Jesse Law. But there are more interesting figures. One of the more famous members is OTF Twin from Lamron. He is the brother of Fresh from Lamron. A tall and big dude. He's very close with Lil Durk and is one of his shooters. He's a killer and drug dealer, as he himself has stated. Lil Durk mentioned him in the song 2.5 where he rapped, "And you know what Twin doing? Riding around with that 100 shots on that 20-block perimeter trying to look for ops." Twin got multiple arrests dating back to 2009 and is a front figure for Lamron. In 2010 and again in 2011, Twin faced charges for unlawful use of a weapon. Following his second arrest, he served over a year in jail. Twin have actually dropped a song called Big 300 Intro, which was released in February 2021 on Lil Durk's channel. In the song, which is the only track ever dropped, he rapped, "When I lost Lil Harvey, I was out here stretching shit. Lil Mo was a problem, I was right there next to him." Lil Harvey was a member from Lamron who was killed in December 2008, which we talked about earlier. And Lil Mo was a member from Lamron who was killed in July 2009, which we will come to later.
For some reason, I knew he was talking about this guy right here, man. I seen this guy in a lot of Lil Durk's video.
Twin is rumored to have bodies under his belt. In July 2008, OTF Twin allegedly killed Thomas from No Love City, M.O.E., allegedly together with Rio from Lamron. And in May 2010, he allegedly killed another man named Thomas, who was from D Block, today known as Brick Squad, allegedly together with Lil Reese from Lamron. Thomas was the cousin of Killa Kells, which is the reason why Killa Kells, who used to claim Lamron, switched up and joined Brick Squad.
Yo, I remember they kept saying Killer Kells switched up. This is back in the day. I used to like Killer Kells too. I used to like his music for sure. I think he locked up right now, but he should be coming home soon. But I definitely liked his music, and I definitely remember when they was like, yo, he switched up. He used to be Lamron. But I see the reason why he switched up though.
Killa Kells even claims that he's one of the creators of Lamron, but probably means that he's one of the originals, which is true. We will go deeper into all of this later in the video. Another front figure, and actually one of the creators of Lamron and 300, together with Lil Law, is Rio, also known as Mr. 300, who I previously mentioned. Rio has a significant history of legal troubles. His record includes a robbery conviction in 2006 and charges for aggravated unlawful use of a weapon in 2008. In 2010, he was arrested alongside Booney Mo, associated with Lamron/PBG/Terror Dome, for the attempted murder of 3 police officers. The incident occurred on September 1, 2010, during a raid by a team of 14 officers executing a search warrant for weapons at Booney Mo's residence. The officers, approaching from the rear, loudly identified themselves and announced the warrant. During the approach, a gunshot was fired from inside the house, shattering the glass security door and injuring 3 officers, including Officer James Gutchie, Lieutenant Glenn Evans, and Officer Michael St. Clair. Following the gunfire, the officers retreated and established a perimeter around the house. They contacted someone inside, instructing all occupants to exit. Those inside included Booney Mo, Rio, Booney's grandparents, his cousin Paris, and his girlfriend at the time. The group complied and was detained. Subsequent reports indicated that Booney's cousin and girlfriend provided statements to authorities, implicating both Rio and Booney in the incident. In pretrial statements, Booney Mo's cousin and girlfriend recounted events from the night of August 31, 2010. They said they were in the back room of the house with Booney Mo and Rio, watching TV and smoking marijuana. During the evening, Booney's cousin brought a firearm into the room, allegedly at Booney's request. Around midnight, a loud noise came from the back door, resembling someone breaking into the back gate. Booney's girlfriend went to the kitchen to investigate, looked out the window, heard banging at the door, and then ran with Booney to the bedroom where his grandparents were sleeping. The cousin told authorities and the grand jury that as Booney fled to his grandparents' room, he instructed Rio to find out who the F that is. Rio retrieved the firearm, looked out the kitchen window, and identified the people as police officers. Booney allegedly responded, "Buck that bitch," urging Rio to shoot. The girlfriend confirmed to the grand jury that she heard Booney give that command. Rio tried to fire the weapon, but it failed initially. On the second attempt, the gun discharged, and Rio, along with the cousin, joined Booney and his girlfriend in the grandparents' bedroom. Booney asked his girlfriend to hide the weapon in the basement, but when she refused, Booney concealed it in the grandparents' closet despite their protests. Shortly afterward, the police called, and the group inside complied with orders to exit the house. At trial, the girlfriend admitted to being at the residence and testified that before running to the grandparents' bedroom, she saw Rio holding a gun aimed at the back door. She observed Rio attempt to fire the weapon unsuccessfully. Once in the grandparents' room, she heard a gunshot but did not witness who fired. The girlfriend denied hearing Booney order Rio to shoot, stating that her earlier claims were influenced by police pressure. The cousin similarly recanted his earlier statement during the trial, denying any conversation between Booney and Rio before the gunshot. However, he acknowledged that earlier in the evening, Booney instructed him to retrieve a gun from under a bed.
So this the guy right here that...
As I mentioned earlier, 3 officers were injured.
Dang.
They were struck by debris when the gunshot from inside the house shattered the glass security door. However, there was no evidence that any officer was directly struck by a bullet. The injuries were caused by the blast and debris. News sites like the Chicago Tribune lied about this and stated that the police officers were struck by bullets in the arms and legs. Rio and Booney Mo faced separate trials for their roles in the September 2010 incident. Rio was convicted of 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder and 3 counts of aggravated battery with a firearm, with the court merging the aggravated battery charges into the attempted murder convictions. He received a 26-year prison sentence for each attempted murder conviction, to be served concurrently. Additionally, Rio was convicted of unlawful use of a weapon by a felon, for which he received an additional 7-year concurrent sentence. Rio was released in 2023. After a 2013 jury trial, Booney Mo was convicted of 3 counts of attempted murder and 3 counts of aggravated battery with a firearm, resulting in 3 concurrent sentences of 23 years imprisonment. On appeal, Booney argued multiple points, including the trial court improperly barred arguments and testimony related to the defense of justified use of force. His trial counsel was ineffective for not requesting jury instructions on affirmative defenses and a lesser-included offense. The prosecution's comments during opening and closing statements were inaccurate and prejudicial. The trial court failed to comply with Illinois Supreme Court rule, which outlines jury instruction requirements. The court did not adequately consider mitigating evidence during sentencing. Based on these issues, the appellate court reversed his convictions and ordered a new trial, which ended up with him only getting 9 years in prison. Booney Mo was released on parole in 2018.
Wow.
In January 2019, only a few months after being released, Booney was arrested again while on parole. He was accused of selling crack cocaine to an undercover officer on 4 occasions.
Man, he should have knew they was watching him, man. He should have knew they was watching him, man. You just got away with well, not get away, but you got off with beating your case. You should have knew the police was watching you, bro. You should have knew that they was watching him, man. You just got out. You just gave them back, what, damn near 15 years. They not playing with you, boy. Anything you do, they gonna lock you up.
And charged with possession of a controlled substance and manufacture and delivery of cocaine near a public park. Prosecutors alleged that Booney sold approximately 25 grams of crack cocaine to an undercover Evergreen Park officer on January 11th, 12, 15, and 16. All transactions reportedly occurred within 1,000 feet of Yukich Field at 89th Street and Kedzie Avenue. After the final sale, officers pulled Booney over near the 3100 block of West 88th Street for driving violations, including failure to signal, driving with a suspended license, and lacking valid insurance. Police claimed that pre-recorded funds used in the controlled buys were found in Booney's possession at the time of the arrest. Booney was sentenced to 2 years in state prison and was released on parole in June 2022. Booney's arrest and charges were no surprise to many familiar with his history, as he has been a known figure in drug trafficking for over a decade. His reputation for making significant money through these activities extended beyond his own set, working with others like 600, which is the reason why 600 Breezy gave him shout-out. Booney shares a close relationship with Lil Durk, who is openly referred to him as the only member from Lamron he considers a big brother. However, this claim isn't entirely consistent, as Durk has also referred to others from Lamron, like Twin, Lil Law, and Lil Steve, as his big brothers in different contexts. An interesting aspect of the Rio and Booney Mo case is the dynamic of their relationship. Booney Mo reportedly gave orders to Rio, rather than the other way around, a significant detail considering Rio's status as one of Lamron's founders and the originator of the 300 movement. This underscores the level of respect and influence Booney commanded both then and now. Recently, after both Rio and Booney were released from prison, tension emerged between them on social media. Initially, their interactions were positive, with Booney showing support for Rio's return, even sharing moments together on FaceTime. However, things took a turn after Rio appeared on DJU TV alongside Chubbs and Lil Steve, where he claimed that Booney's family cooperated with authorities against him, a statement supported by case details. This sparked a public exchange on Instagram. Booney Mo posted 3 stories, saying, "Stand on them words, on Pluto." The man had a note in his back pocket on sentencing, saying he's sorry. "Talking about my family, the pig, DJU TV here I come." Rio responded with his own Instagram story, writing, "You can't come back to your hood huh?" referencing King Von's song All These Dudes featuring Lil Durk. Booney Mo is still very close with Lil Durk, as is Rio. Lil Durk has mentioned them both in multiple songs, and I don't think that Durk has chosen a side in this dispute, since it's not that serious. Lamron have a lot more members and a lot of more history, and in the next video, I will go into much greater detail in things I already mentioned in this video, and much more. This was the first part of the Lil Durk story. I hope you enjoyed it. We are already 2 hours into the story, but we have only reached the beginning of the story of Lamron. There will be many parts of this story. I have written down over 300 events that I will cover, and in this video, I only covered 17 of them. Part 2 coming soon. God bless you all.
All right, man. This has been a good one, man. It's definitely been a long one. I didn't react to a lot of this video because I was definitely learning stuff. It really wasn't nothing to react to, basically just watching it. But I guess in part two, y'all get more reactions out of me. It's definitely been a dope video. I learned a lot of stuff from this video. A lot of people, a lot of situations that I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So I like the history lesson. It is what it is. But I'm not about to hold y'all up. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell for yourself so you can get notified when I drop more bangers like this one. Get in the comments, talk to your boy. I talk back. Do me another big favor, like and share this video. Be on the lookout for part 2. I'm up out of here.